More often, I find couples who come for infertility checkups. There, if you probe into their history, you will find that they have difficulty in having intercourse. They're not able to tell me properly. They don't come up with this issue right in the beginning.
Whenever we are about to hit our periods, why do we have to go through all those mood swings, anger issue, breast pain, stomach pain?
Again, here hormones play an important role because with every cycle, estrogen and progesterone, they have a curve. They go up, they go down. When you are going to get your period, the estrogen and progesterone, both the levels of both the hormones, they come down.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Storyteller Studio, and today we have with us a Mumbai-based gynecologist, Rahi Pednekar. Hi Rahi.
Hi Poonam.
Welcome to the Storyteller
Thank you so
Studio.
much.
So good to have you.
Thank you so much for having me.
So Rahi, what are the most common things that women feel embarrassed to communicate to the doctors?
Yes, more often when a couple comes to my clinic struggling with fertility issues, and when we actually keep on asking them about their histories, about their problems, they actually open up really very late about their sexual problems. So I think sexual problem is one such thing where women still at this 2020 sorry still in this era, they feel embarrassed to talk about their sexual problems.
Acha.
Yeah, most of them haven't had proper intercourse, and they maybe don't have the knowledge about it, or maybe they have pain which is not letting them have the penetrative intercourse which will lead to a successful pregnancy, or maybe just a fear of having intercourse. So, but people are not talking about it. Even to a gynecologist, they have to be, really probed into what is the problem, why you're not getting pregnant.
Correct. Even at this time, like.
Yes.
And what are these common gynecological diseases that you all come across?
Diseases, to start with, very common is a vaginal discharge.
Acha.
Okay, yes, right from the adolescence to obviously the perimenopausal women. Vaginal discharge is a very common problem to a woman. So, firstly, they don't understand what is a normal discharge, and of course, which discharges are to be really concerned about.
Okay.
So, they don't come up very easily to a doctor with these problems.
But that can be resolved, right?
That can be resolved. They are very benign with a good perineal hygiene, a good nutrition, and good lifestyle. Basically,
Okay.
overall, you can keep these problems at bay, and of course, definitely safe sex practices.
Acha.
Yes. So, to elaborate about the perineal hygiene, let's start with the period hygiene. Okay. So, basically, when you have period, some people have high flow, some people have low flow.
Correct.
But some people use tampons, some people use sanitary napkins. So, if you talk about sanitary napkins, you have to at least use it every change it every 6 to 8 hourly.
Okay.
Okay, and make sure that it's not giving you any allergies, not giving you any rash down there. Secondly, if you're using tampons, make sure that you clean it properly and use it properly every time when you use it.
Correct. Now that's very important.
Yes, and every time when you use the loo. So sometimes the public toilets are not very clean. So you make sure that you sanitize your hand before you touch your genitals for cleaning it. And I would suggest that every woman should clean it and keep it dry. You shouldn't use those high speed jet sprays down below to clean it, because then that affects your microbiome there. That affects, that destroys the healthy bacteria, which is the protective barrier against these infections.
Okay.
Yes. So also using perfumed talcum powders or any perfumed products
Hanji.
down there is not very recommended, because firstly it can give you reactions and rashes and allergies, and secondly they have some carcinogens which have found to give rise to some types of cancers of skin and vulva later in life.
So, what is the real deal with birth control? Do they really mess up with our bodies for long term?
Not at all.
No?
Trust me, not at all. In fact, birth control methods, they give you the power, they give you the responsibility, they make you more responsible.
Acha?
Yes, and you are in control of your reproductive choices. So you can decide how many kids I want and how often I want. So it definitely does not mess up with anybody's body long term.
Okay, and the types of birth control that you all suggest?
See, there are two types basically who run. One is hormonal and other one is non-hormonal. The hormonal one, they come in form of pill, in the form of intrauterine devices, sometimes a patch, sometimes a vaginal ring. Okay, they work in the same manner. It stops the ovulation. It makes the lining of the uterus thin, so that even if the egg is fertilized, it doesn't get buried in that lining of the uterus.
Okay.
And some progesterone only methods, they make the mucus of the mouth of the uterus thick, so that the sperm finds it's very difficult to penetrate it to reach to the egg.
Okay.
So hormonal are two types. One includes estrogen and progesterone, and other ones are just progesterone.
Okay.
Okay, the progestin. So most commonly used hormonal method is the hormonal pill that everybody takes, the birth control pill that we say.
Right.
Right. So it has also evolved in the past many years.
No side effects?
Every pill that you gulp has a side effect.
Acha?
Okay, even if the paracetamol will give you a gastritis or sometimes a nausea. So every pill has a side effects, and so are the birth control pills, right? But are these side effects temporary or permanent, or is it very harmful? No, they are not, and they go off after some periods of using it. So mostly birth control pills, they regulate your hormones, they make it in sync, and that's why people, especially who have period problems, they find it very helpful to use these pills, because then these pills regulate the cycle. Secondly, it also gives you a contraceptive benefit. Also, people having premenstrual problems, mood swings, irritability before the periods, these pills will help you, because
Okay.
these pills keeps the hormone in the
Balance.
Yes, in the balance. So, and about the side effects, then the side effects which many people are worried about is cancer,
Acha.
breast cancer risk,
Oh, okay.
or maybe problems with your blood clots, the tendency of having blood clots in your legs or maybe in the lungs. But this happens if you take the birth control pill right till the end of your fertility, I mean the reproductive years, like in the menopause, like in the 45 or 50s.
Okay.
Okay, because the risk of clotting is in fact more when you are pregnant or when you just delivered. So in that phase, the risk of clotting, what everybody is worried about, is more. And the risk of blood clotting with pill is lesser than that when you are pregnant or you have just delivered.
Okay. Acha.
So it is safer in that way because it prevents pregnancy. Another problem is with the cancer. So if you do not have any health related history in the past or in the family, yourself and in your family, if you don't have any breast cancer, then you can take the pill. It doesn't harm you anywhere. Okay, and birth control pills, the risk of breast cancer with birth control pill is lesser than that in the obese patient, or that in patients who smoke or who drink alcohol every day,
Acha.
right? So that is the generalized risk with all these habits of the breast cancer, and the risk is lesser with the pills. So
Okay.
again, the pills are safer. It doesn't give you cancer. In fact, birth control pill protects against few cancers, like the ovarian cancer, the uterine cancer.
अच्छा.
Yes, and of course, the colorectal cancer. So, but it doesn't prevent against the infections, because then you can have unprotected intercourse, in the sense without condom. There is no barrier to prevent the infection. So, of course, for that you have to use condom.
Okay.
I will. That is the other part of another method of contraception,
हाँ.
which comes under non-hormonal contraception,
हाँ.
where the most common is your condom, and other one is intrauterine device. That's the copper T that we call it, copper containing
That's
devices.
very common, right?
That's very
That's a
common,
common
and it's very
practice,
effective also.
अच्छा.
Yes, the effectivity of the birth control pill, if you can say, with the proper use, without forgetting it, it is 1 in 100. That means one patient will get pregnant out of the 100 if
Acha.
they use the pill properly without forgetting it. If they take the pill daily. Vis-a-vis, if you use a copper containing devices, it is not a user based. Once you have put the copper T, it stays there for as long as the validity of the copper T. Some are of 5 years, some are of 10 years.
Okay.
So for that many years, for that period, you are protected against unwanted pregnancies.
Pregnancy,
And the failure rate are very, very less, 1 in 1000. So very effective.
Very effective.
Another important hormonal method of contraception, which the government of India has introduced recently, is the implants. Implants are small plastic rods which contains hormone. It is a progestogen. It is a etonogestrel hormone that it has in that implant, which is inserted. It's a small procedure where your doctor will give you anesthesia in this part of the arm here, and it remains under the skin. You can feel it, but you cannot see it. It's a small procedure where that implant is inserted here.
Okay.
You have an applicator. With the help of that, you can insert the implant, and that lasts for nicely 3 years. The effect is
That's a kind of birth control.
birth control method, yes, and it is the safest for even adolescent girls who are sexually active and who do not want pregnancy. Because unwanted abortions, unwanted pregnancies, and then abortion is another problem, health related concern that female face.
Right.
So preventing pregnancy is very, very important, and that's why Government of India has included many such options in that birth control basket. The options that any person can have, any female can have.
Many options now.
Yes. So another thing is injections. There are injections also available. It's called as DMPA, subcutaneous or intramuscular. So this injection, you can take it in your buttocks or in the arm, or again, like you take insulin with a small syringe inside underneath your skin, basically.
Skin. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So that can be self-administered again. So a female cannot, she doesn't have to go to a doctor to take the injections. She doesn't have to remember to take the appointments and wait for the appointments to take those injections. She can self-administer those subcutaneously taken injectable hormonal methods, like it is called as Antara in India.
Acha.
Also called as Sayana press. This is a new method.
Wow.
It was originally there, but the administration is different. Like where initially you used to take in your buttocks, now you can take it underneath your skin. Like
Acha.
intradermal types. Yes.
God, I had no awareness about this at all.
Subcutaneous. Sorry, not intradermal.
No awareness. Thank you. Yeah, great knowledge.
Yes, there are many options. It's just that you have to go there, talk to your gynac, and the gynac can give you a number of options depending upon, of course, your health, your desire of fertility later on, your concerns related to your privacy, concern related to your other medical conditions.
What is with this postpartum? There's such less knowledge in and around. कोई उसके बारे में बात ही नहीं करता. Suddenly it hits you and you're like, oh my God, what's happening? Baby is born. You should be so happy. मगर पूरा वाइस वर्सा होता है, क्यों ऐसा?
बिकॉज बेबी जब घर पे आता है तो एवरी फैमिली मेम्बर, relatives, they are only concerned with the baby. Oh, you know, they're very happy, the joy has no bounds. So basically the happiness mother, they expect from mother also, अरे इसको तो खुश होना चाहिए, baby आया है.
सही
But
बात
then
है,
she is going through so many changes internally, physically, mentally, both, that it's very difficult for her to keep a track and keep everything in control, basically emotionally also and physically also. So to start with hormones, hormones play a major role in controlling your brain, especially females. So whatever, females are different from men because they have hormones which completely interacts with the brain in day out. So estrogen and progesterone, both, they are important in wiring of the brains, the neurotransmitters which are the food for neurons to transmit those signals. So for them also estrogen and progesterone are very important. Estrogen is very important to keep the brain active because it brings the glucose to make more energy, and that's why the brain is more energetic, you know, when the estrogen is high. So basically these hormones are important to for your brain function.
Okay.
So whenever in the reproductive life span of the woman, these hormones, they fluctuate erratically, it, you know, creates problem with the brain also. So you think differently, you have symptoms of postpartum baby blues or postpartum depression because of the erratic hormones that play an important role in that phase of you know, post, in that phase basically.
Okay.
And it has a spectrum from mild to severe, and in fact suicidal tendencies also. So it just doesn't stop at depression or feeling low, crying spells.
Postpartum is something that we all need to face. We have to face it. But how do we face it, and how strongly can we come out of it? Any steps, any measures that you recommend?
Yeah, because hormones you cannot change. They are there and they affect your brain. For that, you know, your familial support, your partner's support is very, very important. You know, and awareness about that you can expect these problems in that phase. If you're aware, you're ready to deal with it.
Awareness is really
Awareness
important.
is very important.
And it's very less.
Yes, and you have to not just make the patient aware, but importantly the family members aware, so that they know when she's showing those
Absolutely.
symptoms.
Absolutely.
Yes, because taking care of child is not one person's job, you know, and with mother having you know, all that exhaustion of the pregnancy and the delivery, it's too much for her. It's very overwhelming for her.
Absolutely.
So I suggest that, you know, the house help is important to take care of the child when mother can rest. So it can be from a partner or from other family members, and some empathetic you know, behavior from them, that, you know, she can feel these emotions or emotional breakdown, or, you know, that her mind is not really in sync with her thinking. That's important. So you curtail down on the exhaustion part and you give her some me time,
Some comfort time.
some comfort time, so that she can work on herself in terms of nutrition, in terms of relaxation and exercise, because these three things are very much important to take away almost more than 50% of the burden of these symptoms.
So, Dr. Rahi, when girls turn 10, so nowadays their pediatricians are suggesting them to take the vaccine to prevent cancer.
Yes.
So, is it something that is very necessary, or you can avoid it?
I don't see any reason why you should avoid that vaccine, because it prevents from a very common and preventable cancer, which is a cervical cancer.
Okay.
Cervical cancer is very common in India, and it can be preventable with these vaccines, because HPV is a virus, human papilloma virus. This virus is notorious, and almost 90% of the cases of cervical cancer are because of this virus infection to a female, and this virus is transmitted through normal sexual practices.
Acha.
So, and you cannot understand or realize when you have that infection because it doesn't really give you any symptoms at that point of time.
Okay.
Yes. So, this vaccine is very important because we have the prevention for a cancer. Come on, you cannot avoid it.
Okay.
I think I recommend that you should give it.
But there are different
Yes, there are
ranges as
different.
well.
Yes, there are different valences because there are different strains of the viruses which are found to be notorious, basically. So there are quadrivalent vaccine and there are nanovalent vaccine.
So there are two variants. So which one do you recommend?
Yes, there are two variants. One is with 4 viral strains and another one is with 9 viral strains. It is nanovalent. This one is a quadrivalent. So both are equally effective in terms of prevention of the cancer. So either is okay. The quadrivalent is also made in India. It is called as Sarvavac and the other one is called as Gardasil. Gardasil is the imported one. Gardasil comes into 4 quadrivalent also and the nanovalent also. The nanovalent one will cost you around 10,000 each.
Yeah.
And the quadrivalents will cost you some 2 or 3,000 or 4,000 rupees. So both are equally effective in terms of prevention of cancer. That's it.
Okay, both are equally effective.
Equally effective. You can take both.
So ये लगाओ या फिर वो लगाओ
Yes,
चलेगा. And someone puts one of this and one of the other one. Will that be okay? Will that be safe?
That is safe, but maybe not required also.
Okay.
In fact, nowadays, the recently WHO has come up with a statement that only one shot of HPV vaccine is enough to give you protection against the cancer.
Okay. You've told us about the symptoms and the problems that we face during menopause, but how do we actually deal with it?
So first you have to learn to acknowledge the problem. Then you can find solution to deal with it. Whenever you understand that, oh, I'm going through such and such symptoms, you have to first visit your gynec. The gynec can evaluate you first with respect to your health history, medical history, your current problems, which are bothersome and which are not. And accordingly, there are many options. Importantly, there are hormonal therapy, which works best for these hot flashes and vasomotor symptoms.
Okay.
Okay. These hormonal therapies can be again in different ways you can use it. One is in the form of pill, as I said, also in the form of a patch, spray, gels, etc. So, and there are different hormones, basically estrogen and progesterone both. Then some comes with only progesterone. So there are different, some comes with only estrogen. So it depends on your health history, your surgical history, and your symptom profile, symptom diary. So whenever you are experiencing these symptoms, you have to make a diary.
Okay.
Find out the stressors in the life, in the day-to-day life, that what stressor maybe is leading to this symptom. Okay. And then visit your gynec. The gynec can give you some options. Importantly, as I said, hormonal therapy, including estrogen and progesterone. Then there are different psychological therapies also. He can guide you through a counselor where different psychotherapies are there to deal with these psychological symptoms. Secondly, you have to look into your own lifestyle, that what you're eating is good or not, because because there are some foods which are very important because those contains phytoestrogens. Those are important to keep you healthy and to keep the signs and symptoms of menopause and perimenopause at bay.
Okay.
To some extent. So, diet rich in legumes, fresh fruits, flax seeds or other type of seeds which are rich in omega-3 fatty acids. Then nutrients, basically minerals and nutrients like green leafy vegetables. The melons and berries, the diets rich in all these are important just to keep you fresh and keep the menopausal symptoms at bay. So that is with respect to the food. Then you should again exercise, because exercising will obviously help in terms of keeping your bone more strong, keeping your muscles more active and releasing endorphins again. So exercise and good diet, good sleep and avoiding some foods like caffeine, alcohol,
Okay.
stop smoking. So these are important
Important. Okay.
aspects to avoid these symptoms basically.
Okay. Also, Dr. Rahi, once we hit 40, what are the kind of checkups that it be male or female that need to do it regularly?
Okay, it's different for both. From a gynec point of view, for a female, I would say cancer screening is very important. We just spoke about HPV vaccine and cervical cancer. So, the test for cervical cancer screening is very, very important. We call it a pap smear.
Uh-huh.
So, if you have crossed 25, more so if 30, then you should undertake this test. This comes in different types. Some people take a swab and send it for pathology. The smear test, it's called as a smear test or a brush test. It's a pap test basically. So that, and also HPV test. So if you do both the test, you have to repeat it every 5 yearly. If you only take a smear test, you have to repeat it every 3 yearly.
3 yearly. Okay.
After 25, it is suggested that after 25 you should continue this screening, or definitely after 30
Okay.
you should continue this screening. So this is one. Then annual mammograms, bilateral breast mammography you should do to see for any breast cancer risks. For that also you have to visit a gynecologist. He
Right.
will assess you for breast cancer risk and then probably advise you how often you have to do it or how important it is for any person. But
Okay.
for a middle-aged person, yearly mammograms will help in preventing or maybe detecting breast cancers early.
Okay.
And these are treatable if detected early, both of them. And then in your annual screen, you should undergo your annual checks with terms of your lab test, then ultrasound of your abdomen and the pelvis.
Okay.
So that at least once in a year you should you have some idea about where you are going, where your body is, how
Okay,
your body is,
got you.
coping up with the day-to-day stress and what you eat basically, because everything is adulterated, everything is polluted.
I agree.
So you have to keep a check of this. So the blood test, which tells you about your hemoglobin, your liver function test, your kidney function, your thyroid,
Okay.
your bone health in terms of vitamin D levels and calcium levels. So these are some of the basic tests which will tell you how much healthy you are.
Now, the most important question for all our female listeners, whenever we are about to hit our periods, so why do we have to go through all those mood swings, anger issue, breast pain, stomach pain?
Again, here hormones play important role because with every cycle, estrogen and progesterone, they have a curve. They go up, they go down. When you are going to get your periods, the estrogen and progesterone, both the levels of both the hormones, they come down.
Huh.
So, and this is the withdrawal symptoms that the patient gets. So, everybody's sensitivity to this change is different.
Okay.
So, some females are more sensitive to the change, and that's why they have these symptoms of mood swings, irritability, rage, sometimes feeling upset,
Anger.
emotional ability, anger, etc. Again, the brain, reacts differently. Especially here, the progesterone comes into a play.
Huh.
Because the progesterone levels they go down. The metabolite of the progesterone, which directly acts on these neurotransmitters, which in turns, affects our mood. So when this goes down, this calming effect of this hormone on the brain goes away,
Okay.
and then the symptoms of anger, irritability comes up basically.
Comes up. Okay.
So it is the hormone and the sensitivity of each individual towards this change. This change can be normal for you, but maybe not normal for me. So I can react differently. Maybe for you it is okay, like that. So the sensitivity differs.
Different.
And that's why the symptoms differ, and it comes in a spectrum from mild to severe.
That needs to be told, right?
This to be told, yes. Maybe sex education in the school can,
Right.
take the burden away.
Correct. Thank you so much, Dr. Rahi. It was lovely to have you at the Storyteller Studio.
Thank you so much, Poonam, for having me. It was my pleasure to interact with you and the audience. Wonderful. Thank you so much.